In our previous video, we saw how we could use a camera with image sprites, specifically balls, to make a learning chemistry application where you can combine two elements and see what mineral it will come up with. So in this video, we're going to increase the complexity a bit. We're going to allow a user to create new minerals out of these elements. What we're going to do is we're going to have an image sprite, which is a box, and the user can move the elements into that box. So we're going to need paint to create a box. We're going to need a new custom image sprite. We also need a temporary place where we can store that information before we save it. And so for that, we're going to need a list. So I'm going to, when I go to the blocks view, we'll add a list. We also need a TinyDB database where we can store these named minerals. And so for that, I'll drag a TinyDB database here, and we'll just call this one molecule. And I keep saying mineral, I mean molecule. Okay, so we'll call it molecule. Okay, now what else are we going to need? Well, we're going to need a place where the user can enter a name and where a user can save and possibly also clear the canvas. So I'm going to need to rearrange the canvas just a little bit. In Designer View, I'm going to select the canvas, and instead of height fill parent, I'm going to say automatic. That will give me an opportunity to add a few more items to the screen. So go to user interface, and I'm going to say text box, and we'll give this one a label, or more specifically a hint, and we'll call this molecule name. Okay, and then we also need a couple of buttons. We need maybe a save button. So you know what? It's probably easiest to use in a, if I do one of our layouts. We'll do a horizontal arrangement. Okay, and now we're going to use our buttons. So we'll have our save button, and then maybe a clear button. And we probably also want to think about having like a guess button if you're guessing which element it is. So we won't cover that in this video, but perhaps we'll go ahead and, or maybe call it a review button, something like that. We'll go ahead and add that button for a future video. As a matter of fact, I also want to put a label on top, because when we make a game out of this, I want to put an element, or a molecule rather, in that label, and then give the user the ability to guess which element it is. So the label right now, so that we're going to do in a future video. I'll go ahead and set it up though, so we have it ready. So for width, we're going to do fill parent. Text, we're going to take the text out because we're going to program against this. And I will rename it to molecule, let's call it LBL molecule. Remember, rename the variables if you're going to be programming against it. It'll make life a lot easier for you. For this text area, I could also give it a width of fill parent, and we'll have it take up the whole screen. For the horizontal arrangement, we can give that a width of fill parent. And then I'm going to rename some of those, or retext and rename some of those buttons. So the first one we're going to call save. Okay, and remember, if you're going to program against it, change the name. We'll call it btn save. Okay, next one, we're going to say clear. So that would clear the screen. So clear. And again, we won't get to all that in this video. We will cover that in a few future videos. Finally, the last one, we're going to call guess. Like, I want to guess that this is what the element is. So let me just rename these last few. So clear, and we'll call this one. Oh, let me stay consistent. Call that btn clear. And then the final one we're going to call btn guess. Okay, and we know there is a trick to these to make them look relatively equally weighted. We can go in here and give them a percent of the parent layout that they're going to take. So if we make them all 30%, that'll give us a little bit of margin, but also the width will be relatively equal across all three, not based on the label that's inside. Okay, now I'm going to go back to our canvas that we've spent so much time building, and I'm going to change this back to fill parent. Okay, and you see what it does with the fill parent after I've added other components is it leaves those components, it gives them room, but then the rest of the room is taken up by this item. So I need to condense some things a little bit. We'll just kind of move our elements together here, and we probably ought to add some kind of text or some kind of label there as well, that says what they are. So maybe I'll leave a little bit of room for that. But with my new look and feel, the oxygen is falling off the screen, and so I need to go grab that oxygen. Okay, let's see. Now, unfortunately, one is out of the picture as well, isn't it? So I'll tell you what, we'll just duplicate one of these guys. We'll duplicate. Oh, no, 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 no. There we go. We will duplicate one of our oxygens. Okay. So that was an image sprite. I guess we really don't need more than one oxygen, or more than two, but I'll go ahead and make a new one out here. Okay, so we're going to call this one blue, and I believe we gave it a radius of 8. There we go. Okay, so layout is mostly set up. Now I just need a little image sprite that's going to be custom. So I'm just going to go to Paint, and I just kind of want like a box or something like that. So we'll go to Shapes, and I'll choose a little rectangle here. It doesn't have to be anything fancy. Let's make it some kind of interesting color we haven't used yet, like purple. Okay, and then we'll make a little, neat enough we can put some of our elements in there. So that's probably about right. Now I'm going to crop it because I don't need the default that they give us in Paint. So I'm just going to, okay, click off of there. Try to make it relatively, oh, no, zip, sorry. Regular free selection, that's what I want. So something like that roughly is fine. I'm going to expand so I can get to the crop. Okay, there's crop. And then I'm going to save this. Okay. And we will just save it as a purple box will be fine. Okay. PNG should be okay. So I'm going to go ahead and grab this directory to make it a little easier when I get back to AppInventor. Okay, now image sprite. Okay, this is what we want next. The image sprite is going to hold our box. So I'll just drop this image sprite right up here. And now what we need is a picture. Okay, so upload file. Okay, and paste the directory where I saved that, and let's see, we called it, just a moment, purple box, and open. And okay, so how does this guy look? Uploading? That's about right. That's about the look and feel I was going to. So the idea is that you can drag the molecules, the elements over here and make a molecule. And as soon as it enters this image sprite, we're going to register it as a molecule. Now, what we should probably also do with this background image, we should make labels, because you can't just drag a label onto here. You see, if I drag a label on, if I try to put it in the canvas, it wants to go above or below the canvas, which is not what I want. But I do want to put labels for each of these items that I have, my carbon, and I think we had, yeah, hydrogen, nitrogen, and oxygen. I'd like to put some labels on those. I'd also like to put a label on this box. It's probably easiest if we just kind of customize the background image. But anyway, we'll leave it as it is right now. So this is the user interface for our Learning Chemistry example, or app. In our next video, we're going to have it so that we can drag these image sprites or these balls into the box, and then we can recognize what they are, and then we can save them into a list, and then finally TinyDB. It's going to be a lot of fun. I'll see you then.